Hi everyone, as promised, I'm going to give you an overview of my religion lab. This week you will have assignments due in my religion lab. Last week you were asked to get your account set up, get in there, look around a little bit, but this is where this really begins to kick in. You will be earning grades from some of your work in my religion lab, so you do have to have access. I notice only 12 of you have signed up already, and that some of those who've signed up have temporary access, which to me, I suspect you got in there. Sorry, I'm getting little pop-ups. You got in and didn't pay for access. Now, if you bought your textbook from the bookstore at Delta, the version of the text that we got there, or if you use the same ISBN, in other words, that same code to order your text as the version we've got at Delta, you will have gotten an access code for My Religion Lab. The price of it is included in the price of our textbook. However, if you've got a used copy of the book, or if you bought it somewhere else and don't have that code, you do have to purchase access when you register or through my Pearson directly. We're going to have weekly grades from my religion lab, so it's very important you have access. I mentioned that in the syllabus as well. It's important that you have full access. Your temporary access will run out after 3 weeks, which means you would begin losing the grades for the rest of the semester in here. So that is very important. We're using this for content mastery. What that means is you need to walk out of this course with a good understanding of the concepts that we're covering in your text. My Religion Lab will help make sure you get that understanding with its study guides, with its additional resources, and also with the formative assessments. I'll show you those in just a second. And then it will help me be assured that you're mastering the content with the weekly reading exam. In e-learning, we'll do weekly discussions, which will give us a chance to reflect and talk about the concepts that we're looking at in the text and in my religion lab. And we'll do other things like the Second Life stuff I'm going to get into with you a little bit later in the semester. Optional, but a lot of fun. The final project, a lot of that stuff will also be in our e-learning course site. One thing I want you to check out is the e-text, and it's going to open up and then minimize possibly. The e-text is really, it's not going to do it this time. The e-text is very, very cool. It is essentially your textbook. Uh, so one advantage of this is you will have your text wherever you are. So if you're sitting on a computer at the library, wasting time between classes, not wasting time, using alternative time between classes, and you need to you haven't done your reading for your religions course yet, you don't have your textbook with you, you can get in and do your reading. The other neat thing, and let me just show you one thing, you make all sorts of notes in your electronic text. You can look things up in your electronic text. This is how you maneuver page to page in here. You will also see these kind of salmon colored hot links. Some of these are actually also in your textbook. The neat thing with the e-text is when you click on these, they will actually open up for you. So you click on here and you will actually get chapter audio. In other words, if you want to listen to this while you're doing something else, you can do that, although I don't recommend that. That split attention will probably keep you from digesting a lot of what you're reading. And where there are supplemental sources, there's one here early on. Let me just find it from your textbook. Oops. There we go. Methodologies for studying religion is an additional resource for you. You can click on that and it will open up directly. So do explore the textbook there, and this is additional. These things will be very useful to you as you start trying to formulate your final project, which I'll talk about later in the course, and also those weekly discussions which ask you to reflect. Okay, to get to what you have to do this week and every week coming up, you click on the assignments tab there. And that will take you to this window. It will tell you what is due on any given day. That's not especially helpful because you will need to do your work before it comes due. So look over at the calendar here and you will see these little alarm clocks where there is a due date. As you can see, I've done this week's work. I will gradually work ahead so you can look ahead and see what's due when. But in this course, we're really going to follow specific patterns. So once you get a feel for how this works, it'll be pretty much the same every single week. So what you need to get done by Thursday is to review the learning objectives. Very, very useful to look at these before you start your reading because they give you an idea. They kind of form shelves in your brain where you can shelve the stuff you're learning. They give you an idea in advance of what the important things you're meant to take away from the chapter are, and that way you actually retain them better as you come across them. Do your reading, of course. Listen to a podcast by a scholar, and this is useful, not just because it enhances what you're reading in the book, but it also gives you a chance to meet, to learn from people who live this stuff in their day-to-day lives. This is somebody who's dedicated a lifetime to the study of this. It's very useful. It gives you a sense of the real world discussion over religion. And then these formative assessments have to be completed by Thursday. These are not graded assessments. What they are is they're ways of helping ensure that you're getting the content. Okay? One thing that is useful here is if you do a formative assessment and you just cannot figure out why you're getting something wrong, you can scoot on over to e-learning. And remember, we've got those two help topics. One of them is for the mechanics of the course, and the other one is for course content. Ask the question over there. I check into the course at least once a day unless something really odd happens. So I will give you an answer over there. Okay, then by Sunday, and again, I click on the calendar, it comes up, you need to complete the study plan, which maps out everything that has to be done, including one of those assessments, which is being used as a post-test. There's also a pre-test in the study plan. Okay, so you just want to work through, make sure all of that has been pretty much tackled by Sunday. Most importantly, and here's where your grade will come from, is the weekly exam. So there's a chapter 1 exam. Now, exam is a strong term. It is 15 questions, multiple choice, so it's not going to be really painful. But you will need to have mastered what's in the textbook. If you've done the formative assessments, that shouldn't be difficult. If you've read it carefully, by the end of the week, you should have a really good understanding of the basic concepts. This first chapter is very important because it lays the groundwork for the rest, but we will follow this pattern throughout. Now, I may tweak how I assign things because I'll be honest, I am still learning my religion lab myself, so I may discover that something this week gets screwy or funny or strange as you're working through it, so I may tweak this a little bit. But essentially, this is what you'll be looking at. You need to have the chapter and the formative assessments done before we have our discussion. So that's why these are due Thursday. After this discussion, during the discussion, you can revisit your text, go back and forth. You then have a few days to really master the stuff, the content in that chapter. One final thing, I want you to note the due dates or the due times. I'm actually fairly relaxed in the time at which something comes in, a discussion board or something like that. If you post it at 12:30 a.m. Friday morning, well, that to me is still Thursday night, so that's really fine with me. I'm not. I know people tend to work overnight. My religion lab is different. My religion lab, your homework is due 11:59 p.m. of the day it's due. So in other words, if you're working on your final exam Sunday night and you start it at 11:45, there's a very good chance you're going to get booted out and not be able to finish it. And so I want you to be very careful about that. And realize, too, that my religion lab is not a Delta product, so it's much harder to go in and change things around. So if you miss that deadline, there's not much I can do to go in there and let you take it again. Okay? So that's it. That is my religion lab in a nutshell. If you've not yet gotten access, get access. Get in, start exploring. If anything looks screwy technically, post something to the course questions topic in our help forum. If you have questions on content as you're reading or working through the assessments, ask those in the content forum, and I or someone else will duck in and answer those. Okay? Have a good week, and as I just said 10 times, I'll say it the 11th time, I am here if you've got questions.